Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. Well, today we've got a panel with a bit of a difference. Of course, you know all the gentlemen here. Wayne Holder is here as usual. I think all cricket fans in Barbados and beyond know Pedro Greaves, and Khismar Catlin is well known as well. He's been on the show before. Khismar, of course, the former UWI. I pause there. Shall I say bowler or all-rounder? You know, these guys sometimes when are so touchy in how you describe them, but I'll let Khismar label that for himself. As far as Pedro Greaves is concerned, though, no discussion. Batsman. We're not giving him any extra credit for anything. So welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk, gentlemen.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Khismar, are you a bowler or all-rounder?
I'm a bowler.
Okay. Well, no problem. So I'm a former UWI fast bowler, and who has gone into other things now, including coaching, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So too, Pedro Greaves. So these two gentlemen, when you can actually say, taken a similar path. But we're going to get back to that. Before we actually get into talking about Pedro Greaves and Khismar Catlin and the influence that they're having on the local cricket since the season has started and so on, I want to offer my congratulations to Nicholas Pooran, the newly elected white ball captain, and wish him all the best. Of course, in West Indies cricket, you know, there's always discussion about who should do what, who should be the captain, the vice captain, who should open the batting, who should be playing, who should get dropped, and that's usually a favorite one. But after all that, I'm one of those people who will say, well, look, the debate is over now, and let's get on with the business of West Indies cricket, and let's hope that that will be a general thing where Pooran can feel that support. More than support, though, I think he will need some, maybe a word or two from time to time. I don't know if he listens to these gentlemen here, but I'm going to ask each of you, just quickly before, as I said, we talk about the local cricket. If you were, it's not Christmas, but if you were in a position to give something to Nicholas Pooran, and this could be a material thing, or it could be in terms of maybe something you wish for him in terms of an attitude or some sort of something that would enhance his captaincy, what would that be? We're going to start with Wayne. I don't think I'm going to put my guests under pressure so early, but Wayne, you're a co-host, so you should always be ready. What one thing that you would give to Pooran, if you could, that you think would enhance his ability to lead the side successfully?
Well, I don't know what make you think that I am so different, that I'm not under the same pressure as the guest, but as you said, being the co-host, it is my duty.
Yes, great.
Yeah, everyone offered Nicholas Pooran one thing, though. So I say good evening to everybody, first of all. I would give him time to establish himself, a chance to set his parameters, to set the establishment of his method and mode of leadership. And I don't think that you can just judge him, although he has been in the position before, but never officially. So it was just be that time, the opportunity to establish himself. That is what I would want to give Nicholas Pooran.
Pedro, I know you're a generous guy. What would you give him?
Well, Philip, if you started the evening off on such a very hard question, I'm looking forward to the rest of them. But yes, like Wayne, I think Pooran just needs time to build this current team into a World Cup winning one. You have a number of series before the World Cup, so I would give him time as well to blend and find out the right mix for his players and to learn his players as well, because any good captain must really and truly understand the timing of when to bowl your bowlers, they're better suited in the field, what motivates them. So Puran now has to learn that from in all the players. So I wish him all the best.
Kishmar, you too tend to be generous. Not as generous, fast bowlers tend to be mean, but you're not wearing that hat now, so feel free to be generous.
I'm not though. Well, good evening to all of the viewers. Well, I'm not in a position, I don't think I will ever be in a position to actually give Puran anything. However, any word of advice that I can give him, I would just ask him to stick to his guns, you know, back his decisions and go forward from there. As Wayne and Pedro mentioned earlier, he has not really had a lot of opportunities to develop his craft as a captain. He would have filled in for Pollard on some occasions. So he now has to really and truly develop as a captain in this position. So it's a very new position for him. So he definitely needs time, and I just wish him all the best.
Okay. All right. So Nicholas Puran already beginning to get that support and feel that support. And here's hoping that it becomes widespread and that we can get some sort of unity going, you know, as we move towards first of all, the T20 World Cup and then the 50 over World Cup. Just one more quick question before we move forward. What do you think West Indies should be looking at in terms of this T20 World Cup, though? Wayne, I know you've got some very special views on that in terms of the objectives, maybe as we move forward.
Well, first of all, I wish it was as simple as to say that, okay, Nicholas Puran is now the captain. We're going to be nice and generous to him and all is well with West Indies cricket. That certainly is still not the case. The Nicholas Puran becoming the captain doesn't absorb or solve all the many problems that our West Indies cricket is currently faced with. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, the Nicholas Puran is going to be going towards the World Cup now with a team in transition. We have just lost the previous incumbent captain, which would be a blow to the West Indies side. Just even if you weren't a captain, just to lose Kieron Pollard from a T20 team is a big loss.
Well, I'm glad Hartley's not on the show. Go ahead.
Hartley will be Hartley. But yes, so, I mean, we've got that. Then we've got a whole set of experience has drifted out of West Indies, the personnel available. So we basically at a stage of transition. And I personally would not be, let's say, be pressuring this side that we're going to go into the next World Cup with the task of winning the World Cup. Of course, we would love to win the World Cup. We would love to win every single match that we play, World Cup or otherwise. But I think realistically, I would not look towards the winning of the next T20 World Cup being played in Australia against the teams that we're going to be coming up against at this point in time. But my ambitions would be more long-term and looking towards building a unit that maybe, let's say, a challenge for the next World Cup after the 2022.
Pedro?
Yeah, when you look at international teams that really gel and play together, they normally make it to the playoff stages. Now, what I would say for Puran in going forward to the World Cup is to have that unified team. There were some noises before about the team not being in unison, so to speak. So he has a big task on his hand to bring this Caribbean side fully together. That's what I would say.
Kishmar?
Oh, as being alluded to earlier, we're at a rebuilding phase. I would just like to see the guys have a significant improvement from their last T20 World Cup. You know, even if they're not in a position to win, you know, performances always count. It's a young team, a lot of exciting players that you can build on or build with for the future. So I would really like to see them do significantly, improve significantly from the very disappointing performances that they would have displayed at the last World Cup.
Well, for my part, win or lose, whatever happens there, that's concerned, I would like to see respectability restored. I am still haunted somewhat by the images of the monkeying around that we saw at certain times on the field during the last World Cup, which I thought was really a low point in West Indies cricket. Hopefully something like that never happens again. So win or lose, let's get some respectability back into our cricket where we play like true professionals and recognize that we're not going on engagements, whether it be World Cups or otherwise, to make sport and to celebrate each other in a selfish way, but we're representing the people of the region. So, gentlemen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking local cricket. Pedro Greaves and Khismar Catlin are special guests today, and both gentlemen have something in common in that they are playing a very important role during the current season. Of course, nothing new to Khismar, and I suppose in a sense not really new to Pedro either. But Pedro, you played in the the highest local level up to what the last time the full season was played. Now I understand that you are playing a different role now. You're still playing at a high level, but in a different way. Tell us about it.
Yes, thanks, Philip. We would have received some correspondence at the BCA that Combermere would not have been able to field a team. This is the last season in 2021 because it didn't have a coach or anyone.
In other words, a season that should have been played, but then wasn't because of the spike, so to speak.
Correct. So yeah, okay. that would have been last year, September.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So August, September, and I would have said, well, I supposed to be principal and the head of the PE department, and said, well, this should not happen with the history of Combermere, so to speak. And they assured me that they will try in this calendar year to get a full-time coach back at the school. So basically then I said, well, I would just be the caretaker for this season so that these young school boys can play for their school. If you recognize that last 2 years there was no cricket. So there are some boys in third form who've never actually played for the school. So this is an opportunity for them to actually get a part in playing for the school, which is what every child dreams of when going to secondary school.
So these guys would have probably missed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they would have missed an under-15 tournament in 2020. And then would have missed the under-15 tournament in 2021. So they've missed 2 years of junior competition, so to speak.
Including our seniors, you're correct. Including our seniors.
No, I'm thinking about the third formers you're talking about, who would be normally your under-15 cricketers, and yes, those third formers would now be in 4-4 fifth form.
Well, some of them would be in fourth form, but we're speaking necessarily for boys who came into first form. Okay. Who would not have had an opportunity to play in those 2 years, who are now in third form.
Okay, fair enough. So how's it been so far?
It's been different. It's been very challenging because you're playing at the highest level of the best cricketers in Barbados. So the learning curve is very, 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 very rapid, where you're learning on the field of play. There wasn't much time, as you would know, school would have only resumed face-to-face just before actually the first ball of the season. Yeah. So there was not much time before the actual first ball to work with the boys. So it's basically a learning curve, and obviously you're putting the extra practice sessions now, so to speak. But it's a work in progress, and we're not expecting to basically take the first division by storm. But we're hoping that at the end of the day, it is beneficial to them, rubbing shoulders with the best in the country and learning at a fast rate what it calls to be one professional and one to be at that level consistency and aiming to improve in not only batting for long periods, but also consistent line of legs.
What made you decide to do this though from a hands-on situation? In other words, you could have opted to be the coach of the team, but you took on the challenge of being a player coach.
The BCA actually calls it a master. So I'm playing as a master, Mr. Jason Yard. He is the coach of the team. So I'm the manager / player master of the side. Okay. So yes, I assist Jason in some of the coaching, but I'm not a coach. but I understand cricket. So
Yeah.
I assist him in that regard, so to speak,
So he's
in
the
more of a
official coach.
tactical perspective.
Yeah.
Pardon
And he's the official coach of the team then.
Yes, correct.
This is the former youth team left arm spinner.
That is correct.
Okay.
He's a level two CWA coach.
Okay. Well, I don't think Wayne Hall is a level 2 CWA coach, but I'm sure he could be if he wants to be, because he's doing some excellent work elsewhere. But we're going to hear about that at a later date. Right now, we're going to focus on you guys.
Well, first of all, I take no claim or make no pretenses to be a coach. Somehow or another, I've never seen myself as a coach. You know, I like cricket. I like to talk about cricket. That is why I'm behind a microphone most of the time. I like talking about cricket.
Okay.
And but I don't really coach. I try to support in any way I could, you know, whether it be promoting cricket, getting cricket played, you know, helping out the situation around my club or wherever. But generally, I do appreciate exactly what Pedro is doing. Yeah, I could see myself playing a role like that. Maybe when I used to play, I could see myself playing a role of being that on-field mentor, you know, where you're teaching cricket. You're not coaching techniques and methods, but you're teaching cricket, you know, you're in the broader spectrum. But this discussion has taken a very interesting turn, and I would like to ask Khismar, even before he get into his substantive position as it stands today. He's also a school teacher, and he would have also been part of that development system. And I'm going to ask you the question, Khismar. Some schools have opted not to take part in the T20 competition. Which camp are you in? Would you have, given the very limited time that there has been for preparation and the nature of T20 cricket, where I'm not so sure how much a youngster can learn and develop in T20, especially guys who have been away from cricket for more than a couple of years. You know, which camp are you in? Were you in the camp of, yes, the boys taking part in this competition, or using this opportunity, this time for some other development?
Well, I was in the other camp of development. You know, as I have told many persons before, you know, due to this actual pandemic, a lot of schools are actually now trying to rebuild their programs. So for the most part, a lot of schools are not actually ready. They were not in a position to be ready to compete in the competition. However, some were available. So those schools that were available decided to play in the competition, but it comes down to each school operates different, different heads. So there's a whole different system, different systems are involved at a particular school. But for me, I thought that we should have gone more along the developmental lines, especially after having such a very long break for 2 years. We would have missed a lot of cricketers.
But you have taken up a new position, I am told, and it's seem to be doing very well so far. How has it gone for you, the T20 competition with the coaching with the Carlton Club?
It's been going very well so far. I have a very good group, and I'm just filling in for Coach Shirley Clark, who we all know is with the Member Islands cricket team, and he would have basically laid the foundation for me. So having going to the club and meeting the exciting group of youngsters is a very good group. That is a very good group, very hardworking group, a lot of disciplined youngsters, and for the most part, a lot of them would have actually represented Barbados at the youth level. So it really made my job a lot easier, and they're always asking questions. They're always willing to learn. So I think I'm very fortunate to have a very talented, young and hardworking group.
You hold the position of the coach of the elite cup competition team at the moment, but Carlton has, I believe, Carlton are represented in all the divisions. do you actually play an overall role over the entire program at Catlin, or are your mission designed specifically for the cup team?
Well, how I operate, I'm the club coach. I coach everyone that attends the practice sessions. So I have many sessions with the intermediate, the second division cricketers, and even the youth cricketers. I have some very good on the 16 cricketers, that are very exciting, and they're always picking my brain, and they're very excited. They love to see the likes of Keon Harding and Shamar Springer, Nico Boucher. So you have a very good group of cricketers that would have actually graduated from the Carleton Youth Program that are actually playing in some of the senior teams right now, such as the intermediate and the elite division teams. So I coach everyone. So it's not an elitist approach.
I like that word, elitist. There has been some discussion, or more than just mere discussion, concerning the decision by the BCA to start the season with the T20 competition, or the white ball competitions, as we see the design that the BCA has put out, where we're going to have the T20, then comes the 50 over and 40 over format, and then we finish off the season with the league competitions, the 3-day competitions for all the divisions except the Division 2. How are your feelings on that discussion about whether it would have been a good idea to start with the longer version, the red ball version of the game, and then rather than give the option to start with the white ball?
Well, under normal circumstances, I would have preferred the 3-day competition, but as we all know, these are not normal times, and I would like to think or assume that the powers that be at the BCA would have been in the frame of mind of thinking that it's best to try to get these shorter competitions out of the way, just in case you have a huge spike in cases again. You could have at least gotten some cricket competitions. So I can assume that they would have probably thought about it along those lines, because remember, we were supposed to have started out last year, and then due to the increase in the cases, we then had to call off the season. So far things are going really well from the T20 aspect of things. So worst case scenario, how we see it, gentlemen, if we do have a spike in cases again, maybe in a very fortunate position that we get at least 2 competitions out of the way. So the average fighter will have been given the opportunity to run around and get some mileage in his legs and play some cricket, because the 3-day competition really is time consuming.
Pedro, you have sat, I'm just going to cross over to Pedro here. You have sat in a position of being one of the decision makers. Khismar gave some very thoughtful reasons as to why he thought the BCA might have taken the route they have. Would you be able to say whether they were the kind of considerations taken when making the decision to start with the white ball?
Well, I'm starting to wonder if Khismar was actually a fly on the wall. He answered fairly well. He's accurate. That is the rationale and thinking of the board. And I just want to add to that the clubs were in financial strain, so to speak. And we felt that if we started with the 3-day, which involves now lunch, preparing lunch, etc., which is a higher cost for the clubs, that maybe it may not have worked out in the way you really wanted it. So T20, where no lunch is required, and you have your bar, you can start to raise funds, persons start paying their subs, etc. That would also aid well for the cricket going forward. So yes, it was in terms of getting some cricket out there, just in case there was another spike, another lockdown, which we don't think will happen, but that was a consideration, but also a financial decision as well for the clubs.
Well, essentially, very COVID-minded thinking starting out the 2022. But like you said, fortunately for all of us, we cricket fans are happy to have the game being played. So that takes care of itself. And we understand why. I think we have to give the Barbados Cricket Association a blight in this particular case, you know, and we wish for all to go well going forward. So Khismar, you are the only unbeaten team I think left in Zone B there at Carrollton. How have you been able to judge or your assessment on the competition so far?
I think it's a good competition so far. For the most part, a lot of guys are still really rusty. So I believe that as the competition progresses, you will start to see better performances coming out from individuals. So it's just a matter of getting in more cricket. So some teams have been bowled out very cheaply in their 70s and some additional scores under 100 runs. But as the guys start to play more cricket, you will start to see some better performances. Additionally, we've been seeing some good performances from some players already. So it's really exciting to see our cricketers actually playing cricket at the highest level again. You know, it was really frustrating, not just for the players, but also coaches to just be at home sitting down and seeing cricket being played in other territories and not in Barbados. So I believe as the competition progresses, even if you don't get a lot of outstanding performances in the T20 format, for sure, when it comes around to the 50-over format, most guys will then be seasoned by then, would have had enough mileage in their legs, had numerous opportunities to bowl balls, have some proper hits in the middle. You would get some very outstanding performances going into the 3-day competition.
Pedro, what's the feedback coming into the BCA regarding the cricket? I mean, we've got the perspective of Khismar, but from a BCA perspective, how are you guys feeling about what has happened so far? We've had a couple of weekends. What's the feeling?
Yes, we've had a few hiccups, as you would expect in anything in life. But overall, it has been reports from the clubs. It has been good so far. We are trying to encourage all persons to continue to follow the protocols that have been laid out in our regulations. But the feedback so far has been very positive, and I think that we are doing very well in terms of ensuring that we don't add to any outbreaks or anything like that in the country. Cricket is an outdoor sport, and if you realize, most of the cases were mainly indoor facilities. So we're happy to have that go ahead. And once the clubs continue to do the right things, we will have a very good season.
Is there any thought, or has any thought ever been given to doing something to make sure the clubs do the right thing? In other words, you've got match referees, something that was introduced some years back to police, if you will, the cricket itself. Do you see, based on your own observations, feedback, your own thoughts, or maybe discussions that you might have had, is it likely that moving forward we could find that we have now, if you want to call them COVID monitors, COVID referees, or whatever you want to call them, someone stationed at the ground, even if only in some divisions, because it may be very difficult to do it for all, to ensure, especially grounds with pavilions, to make sure that the protocols are maintained so that we can be assured of having cricket all the way down to December without any outbreaks. Any outbreaks caused by cricket, I mean.
Yes, we would have shared, we've had meetings and we would have shared the fixtures with the COVID monitoring unit. And in the meeting with clubs, we would have advised that these COVID monitoring units may or will be passing through the various games. I would have to get a update of that from our CEO to see if it's actually taken place. But sometimes the COVID monitoring units don't let you know they're there. Right. Only when something is totally off, would it then indicate to you, hey, this is what is supposed to happen, so to speak. So far, I haven't gotten any reports from our CEO's office indicating that there were any complaints.
Okay, well, fair enough, well answered. But I was actually looking beyond the COVID unit situation where the BCA, may opt to make sure that at least at the highest level, if only because of manpower, you may have that. It's just a thought, really. But of course, we are aware of the COVID unit, because I do believe that sometimes you've got to let people see that something is being enforced rather than wait for them to do something wrong. Because in my experience, if you wait for that to happen, 9.5 times out of 10 it will. So
Agreed,
just a
Philip.
thought.
But the match referees in the highest division are tasked with that responsibility as well.
Okay, fair enough. That sounds good. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. We know that your time is limited, that you've got a number of things to do. I don't know if Wayne has a burning question before you go, or if he's gonna let you go. Wayne, when you get Wayne on a cricket topic, it's hard to get him off. I think you guys know that. I'm just stating the obvious. I'm just saying what everybody knows.
And in this particular case, we will just have to look at the actual cricket that has been played, and look at, like, for instance, Khismar, you would have played, well, your team would have played four matches. Any particular players, for instance, that have caught your eye that you would want to mention?
I think you may on the opposing side, though, because remember he's got to go back to Black Rock to coach these guys, so he doesn't want to be calling names at this point in time unless it's in the opposition. Go ahead, Kishmar. Just throw that in there.
You meant players from my team?
Well, any players that would have caught your eye. That was the question. Any player that would have caught your eye.
Well, I think it's too early right now to call. I've seen some good performances, but in terms of catching my eye, I won't say they've caught my eye, because some of the good performances would have came from some players who have played at the national level before, which is expected. Well, for me as a coach, which is expected of them, right? So I can't speak to that at this short juncture. Probably within the next 2 weeks, I may be in a better position to then speak in that regard.
Okay.
So you can consider yourself invited back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
To answer Wayne's question, I just want to say that we mentioned Carrollton unbeaten, but in the other zone you will have, that Wildey has also gone unbeaten, and one of the highlights.
You just had to get that. You just had to get that in there.
One of the highlights would be Carlos Maynard, who one of the highlights. He scored 2 half centuries. I think it was 54 of 26 balls,
64 and 84, yeah, or 80, 64 and 80,
right? Yeah, and it's unfortunate that unfortunate for Wildey, but I guess fortunate for him, he's gone overseas now into a state. So it's just unfortunate.
You can be hearing from him a little bit later in the show as well. So your mention of him is very timely.
So and then you would have, as Kishmar said, some previous national players like Dwayne Smith scoring 100. Mm-hmm. But I'm not seeing, again, because it's T20. Maybe it's not the foray for the young coming players. Mm-hmm. But hopefully in the other games that come into T20, or even if it's over in the 3-day, that we can get some good performances coming through from new players.
Okay. All right. So thanks again, guys, for joining us and sharing your thoughts and sharing what you've been doing with the restart of the local cricket season. Here is wishing all the best, not only for you and your Commonwealth team, Pedro, and of course Wildey and Kishmar, your Carrollton team, but wishing the best for the BCA and all the clubs and schools as they brave the challenges of cricket in the COVID era. Our viewers may recall that during our previous episode, I spoke very highly of the performance of Carlos Maynard on the opening weekend of the T20 competition, half centuries in both matches that weekend. Well, Carlos Maynard is now in England, playing cricket over there. So that's a big loss for Wildey. And he took time out to chat with me shortly after his arrival there. Well, good to see you, Carlos Maynard, despite the distance. And well, glad that you made it safely to your destination. So exactly where are you?
Well, thank you, Philip. I'm in Seven Oaks in Kent.
Well, I would ask what you're doing there, but I know you're there. I imagine you're there to play cricket, but how did this come about?
Probably about 5, 6 years ago, Hayden Waters Jr. Because he would have played with one of the fellas that played for the club that I am here playing for now, and they needed an overseas, and he recommended me, and yeah, and it went from there.
You said 4 or 5 years ago, so you've played for this club before?
Yeah, twice before. Yeah, I think
Okay.
in 2017 was the first, and then I came back last year. And
Okay, okay. You had an excellent start to the local season. But first of all, though, what was it like, at the start of what promises to be a full season for the first time since 2019?
Well, obviously, being away from cricket for such a long time, and obviously having to deal with the whole pandemic thing, which was, I could only assume it was hard for everyone. Obviously going through that period and being able to be able to play cricket again is obviously a great feeling.
You had, as I said, an excellent start. I mean, not only 2 half centuries, but the manner in which you really you batted, it really was amazing. What's responsible for this? I would have to say maybe this approach. You were very positive. You hit what 4, 5, 6s in the first knock and another 3 in the second knock. Have you been doing something special, in terms of working on your batting?
If I be totally honest, Philip, not necessarily. I think the most important thing for me is that I'm enjoying playing cricket. So it's not a case where I'm studying, scoring runs. Obviously, every batsman would like to score runs, but that's not really my main focus. I think when I bat better when I enjoy myself. So that's pretty much what I've pretty much been doing actually. I haven't really been practicing a lot, to be fair, which is probably not great. But I've actually been playing a bit of golf over the last couple of months. So I don't know if it's safe to say that the golf has helped me, to I guess to be batting this way or what. But yeah, definitely just trying to enjoy myself as much as possible.
And I can imagine the golf courses around Barbados are going to be full of cricketers over the next couple of weeks because what you were able to produce last weekend, I'm sure any batsman would want to produce something even half as amazing as that. As I said, it's not just the runs we're looking at, but the manner in which you batted that certainly impressed me. You said that you were enjoying your cricket, and that's maybe one of the reasons behind it. Why is it that you're probably enjoying your cricket more now than maybe in past times, which is what you seem to be hinted at?
Yeah, I mean, for probably 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, I was obviously hoping to play first class cricket and play for Barbados, and I think that played a lot, in terms of being under pressure pretty much all the time. I'm sure we had a conversation, you and I had a conversation probably about 2 years ago when I told you that I had stopped enjoying playing cricket. I wanted to start at one point when I came up from Australia. And I think obviously the pandemic, it played a big part in me, I guess, finding that love for cricket again. So yeah, pretty much it, yeah.
Have you given up on your hopes to play for Barbados?
I I don't want to say that I've given up, but that is not my main focus anymore right now.
And your main focus is just enjoy the cricket, you're saying?
Yeah, just enjoy cricket. I think I was, over the last couple of years, I would have kind of understand my game to some extent. And I would like to think that I would have matured in a way where it makes it a lot easier for me to just go there and enjoy myself. And yeah, just play within my strengths, really.
Okay. Now, the tricky thing is that being away for an extended period, given the start that you had, let's say the selectors are looking at you, how do you think you're being away from Barbados now and playing in England, how do you think that would affect your whole chances of playing?
Yeah, I think it has a part to play, obviously, because if I'm not there, then the selectors obviously won't get a chance to see me bat, or or I can't score any runs obviously back home. So I think that will play a big part. But like I said, at this present moment, I'm just looking to enjoy myself. Obviously, we wasn't sure at the beginning of the year if cricket would even play in Barbados. So obviously that was why I made the decision to come to England and just get some cricket in.
Mhm. So what are your objectives? What are you looking to do while you're there? Minister club you playing for again?
Club in Kent called Holmesdale
Okay.
Cricket Club.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any objective that you set yourself?
Not really. Just like I said, I just go there to enjoy every opportunity that I get. Just try to get understand each situation, each condition. I just try to play accordingly, not to bat each game the same way that I would have done previously. So it's just about just assessing and just pretty much just enjoying myself.
And you're gonna be keeping wicket as well?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely be looking to wicket keeper as well. Obviously here in England it's a bit challenging, but definitely looking forward to it.
Why do you say it's a bit challenging?
For once the ball, it's obviously it swings in England. Sometimes even after it passes the bat, it's still moving, so that creates a bit of difficulty. But yeah, it's just different really. The balls are a lot harder than we would play with back home, so it stays newer longer, so it swings for longer periods. And so yeah, and obviously outside the weather factor as well. So it's usually quite cold, so then obviously that creates a bit of problem. Obviously catching the ball and hurting your fingers and stuff like that.
Well, I guess you're not that cold right now, based on what we're seeing.
Yeah, the heater is on. Heater is on.
I see. Okay. In terms of format, though, I mean, here, for example, we knew that we were starting with the T20, then into the 50 overs, then into the 3 days, so to speak. What formats will you be playing in England for your club? All formats, or are you?
No, just 50 over cricket. That's what plays in this league. Just 50
Okay.
over.
Just 50 over.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the best of both worlds in a sense, because there are times where you probably need to bat the way we saw over the last weekend, and there are times where you need to put that head down like a test match.
Yeah, definitely. But like even the games over the weekend, both innings were pretty much different. In the first one, we kind of had a platform which enabled me to then play a few shots at the end.
Yeah.
And then obviously on Sunday it was a bit different because I think we lost about 3 wickets in the power play. Even though we were still going at good clip, that's obviously a different situation altogether. Because then obviously we can't afford to lose any more wickets within the next probably 5 or 6 overs. So I mean, the thing for me is just being able to bat, each situation and try to find the best way to score in each situation.
You think the Wildey side is likely to, continue to be a force to be reckoned with? I mean, you're a major loss, and you lost one or two other players even at the start of the season. We know Zach McCaskey has gone elsewhere. Any other significant losses?
Yeah, Desmond Currency, obviously, he made a last minute decision to go to England. I think he left probably Friday, the day before the season started. So that was obviously because he's one of our key bowlers and also a low order batsman. So that was definitely a big loss for us as well.
Mm-hmm. So what was the response of your team? That the captain has started well. He's put us on the map, so to speak, for this season. Put us on the radar for this season. And now he's gone.
Yeah, but to be fair, Philip, I think the other guys have been playing, a crucial role as well. Obviously, like I said, they enabled me to come in back in and obviously play a few shots. So I just think we just need to carry on. It's not like the majority of the batsmen aren't scoring or aren't looking good. It's just a case where I just I was fortunate enough to bat the way I did. But I think that as long as we continue to do the things that we've been practicing, continue to enjoy obviously each situation or whatever, and try to find the best way to overcome it, I think that would be all right.
And who's leading the team in your absence?
Craig St. Hill.
Craig St. Hill. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you want to say to your teammates in Wildey?
Well, I pretty much gave them the message already. It's just pretty much to just continue doing the things that we've been doing. Just continue to train with that high intensity, and just enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Well, I'm hoping, and I'm sure they are as well, that you too enjoy your stint in England. How long do you expect to be there?
I think it's about 5 months. I'm back on, I think, September 7th. Yeah.
Okay, so the season here runs until December, so you should get some more cricket
Yeah,
in.
I should be available for these 3 days. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's great. So, Carlos Maynard, thanks for taking time after your long trip to chat with us on Anything Cricket Let's Talk. And we wish you all the best as you set about this year's adventure on the cricket fields in England.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks very much to Carlos Maynard, and here's wishing him all the best for the remainder of the season. So, Wayne, another round of action last weekend. Um, I visited, if you can call it that, Trent's, and first time since the restart, if you will, where the Wonders team was entertained by Maple. Of course, I think most of the entertainment though was provided by Wonders, particularly Jonathan Drakes, who really batted well, scored 43 off 21 balls, something like that. He really played, he was full of stroke play, Jonathan Drakes, and that was a very positive thing and one of the more memorable aspects of the game to my mind, although there was good cricket played by both sides at various times. I also saw your guy down there, who you spoke about on our last show so glowingly and so passionately, Primus. Only bowled a couple of overs, well, somewhat surprisingly because he bowled them well. Had a very brisk start, 20 off 12 balls, and got the team going. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get to see him in full stride, but it was enough to be reminded of his immense talent.
Well, my adventure this weekend would have been at the home of champions, where Empire got the better of St. Catherine on Saturday. Interesting to see Roston Chase turn out for the Empire side. I think this would have been his first outing for the season, and he had a run out. And we also, the other test player in the Empire side, Jomel Warrican. He played a very significant role also with the ball because the Empire team making, well, I wouldn't say a modest, but a middling kind of score, and defending it well against the St. Catherine batting, which left a lot to be desired. They made up for it the next day, though. I was pleasantly surprised to see them get one of the higher totals in the series on the Sunday before series of matches where they got off and they got to winning. But yes, Empire, I can't think of any great performances. We saw a knock from Kofi Hurdle, who has been in good form, and I think he continued that good form into Sunday again. From the reports that we would have had, a player coming out of the tournament so far that has caught the ear, because I can't say caught the eye, but has caught the ear, has been Mario Albert with Police, having his first outing with Police. Albert, but we all know Mario Albert very well over the years with the Maple side, and still a very young man, but he's now switched over to the Police team, and a lot of that potential that we saw at Maple it has or is now being fulfilled, and it's be interesting to see how the rest of his season goes. We talk about teams. We spoke about Carlton being unbeaten in Zone B and Zone A. We have two unbeaten sides in Empire and Sagicor UWIA, and it's going to be very interesting viewing come Saturday, because these two teams clash.
Yeah, but before you get to that though, you mentioned Maple and Mario Albert. I was at Maple, as I said, and I pretty much recognize two guys, Stephen Payne and Shane Ramsey. And this is not to discredit the others. It doesn't mean because you don't know you're not any good. It just means that these guys are not very experienced at that level. And, it showed. But here's hoping that with people like Corey Cullum wrong, he was there. Of course, the coach, Andy Bryan, here's hoping that they can help to rebuild the Maple side, because unless they really put in some work, they could very well struggle when it comes to the 3 days as well.
Well, the season, I was at Maple on Sunday, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
So your thought, was your impression vastly different tonight?
Not at all. I mean, Maple, very, very much of a rebuilding unit. They played against the Foundation side, who had played some very good games. One recalls them taking Spartan to a very close game in the second round. I think they won their first match. They played a very good game against Spartan. Right. And one would have thought that with a bit more experience, a bit more guile, and how they could have probably defeated that Spartan side, particularly after the start that they got. They got a really explosive start, I think, from Shamaria Davis and the young wicketkeeper St. Hill. Yeah. And then they also surprisingly challenged a massive YMPC total, YMPC making 198, and they got within 11 runs of it. I was a bit disappointed though with what I saw on Sunday, because they surrendered fairly meekly to the Maple side in a low scoring game on a pitch that did offer something there for the spinners in particular. And they didn't put up the kind of fight that I would have expected. Nothing of any particular note, except the young captain, Nathan Seeley. He got 30 with the ball. I chatted
with him a couple of seasons back.
Wickets with the ball. Yes, I remember him at the under 15 level. He's around the Barbados setup. And there's an interesting medium fast bowler. Earlier Pedro talked about masters in the teams, and we got this guy Dean Doughty, who was who was a former student who has come back to help out the foundation setup there, along with Coach Nemo Win as the two masters in the side. And he's a very interesting medium pace, medium fast bowler, and caused a lot of problems for the Maple batsmen. Maybe with a bit better, if the catching was a bit better, his figures would have looked a lot better than
did young Isaiah Folks play that game?
Yes, he did play in the game.
Because the game before, on the Saturday, from a distance, I didn't actually see the game, but I followed the scores. And I was amazed at his bowling figures, because Dwayne Smith and Kelman really took the bowlers, knocked the bowlers around. And his statistics were quite fine. I think he had something like 4 versus 17 runs or something like that.
Well, yes,
he missed that onslaught. So that was interesting to see. How did he look on Sunday? Did he bowl on Sunday?
Well, generally I find that the except for Seeley and Doughty, the rest of the bowling was fairly ordinary.
So they used up everything.
It was a bit inconsistent, folks. Let's put it that way. The leg spinner sometimes.
But you know when it comes to leg spinners,
it was a bit inconsistent. He bowled a couple of good deliveries, but generally it was a bit all over the place. I would have to say so. That I was disappointed with the overall standard of the game on Sunday. It wasn't very compelling, but nonetheless it was played. Another feature of the series, we should be happy to see a number of the available Barbados and West Indies players taking the opportunity. We've seen Shea Hope come out, and he has done well.
Yes, he scored a pleasant half century on Sunday as well. But the innings that really in fact what really impressed me on Sunday, I was at the University of West Indies where UWA played against SFU Pickwick, and the University guys won. Shea Hope, he top scored for Pickwick, but on the University side, what set up the win? After, of course, they bowled well and restricted Pickwick to, I'd say, what really looked to be a competitive 160 odd. But in the end, it proved to be very below. And that was because of an opening stand of 128 between Nicholas Curtin and Zachary McCaskey. And it reminded me of something that Hartley Reid said on a previous show in reference to Shea Hope. I mentioned to him that, Shea Hope is not a regular in the T20 side. And he said that's because people believe, and I'm going to put in my words, I don't remember the exact words he used, but what he virtually meant was that T20 cricket was just about, bashing the ball around as opposed to proper batting, if you will. I don't know if you recall when he made that point. And that partnership between McCaskey and Nicholas Curtin brought that back to mind, because there was Curtin on one hand playing every shot that you could think of and some that you probably could not have, and McCaskey on the other still scoring with some degree of freedom, but not taking the risk. And it was almost, to my mind, an almost perfect T20 partnership between with Curtin on the go, on top of the bowling, doing it, playing the shots at will, and McCaskey being a bit more watchful, working the ball around, and also playing some attractive shots. In fact, one of the strokes he played through the covers early in his innings, maybe his first scoring stroke, was probably the shot of the match, or one of them. But it was a very, very I don't want to say interesting. I want to find something more descriptive than that, but an almost ideal, to my mind, T20 partnership. And it showed that you don't have to be reckless, because Nicholas Curtin was not reckless. He was very attacking, but excellent stroke player.
I know we're talking about the last weekend, but I had the privilege of seeing what I believe has been one of the more entertaining matches of the season so far. I think it was in round 2, YMPC versus Wanderers at Beckers Road, where Dwayne Smith scored an unbeaten 100, and the total that YMPC said it was made to look like pedestrian by particularly a similar partnership between Rashawn Primus and Jonathan Drakes, because whereas Primus was all raw power, and really taking command of the situation, there was Drakes not playing a shot in anger, just stroking the ball. But you know what happened, Philip, as it ended up? That Drakes finished up with a better strike rate than Primus.
I think that what you're describing provides further evidence that you can play, if you want to call it, proper cricket shots and still be successful in T20.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, just Drake's played a number of really authentic cricket shots. He put away the bad balls whenever it came, but that was a really exciting afternoon there at Beckers Road. A very entertaining T20. What we come to expect and hope for from T20 cricket when it's played at its best.
So before you close off your show, Wayne, let me just quickly go through the point standings for Zone A and Zone B. In Zone A, Wildey and UWA, along with Empire, all on 16 points, all unbeaten. Then you have Pickwick on 8, Police on 8, St. Catherine on 8, and then even further back, Gladiola on 4, Barbados Youth A on 4, Cavaliers and Common Mary yet to score. And in Zone B, just the one unbeaten team, that's Carlton. And then we have Wonders, UWIB, both on 12. And then on 8 points, you have Lords, Spartan, Yorkshire, YMPC. On 4 points, Foundation and Maple. And at the bottom, Barbados Youth, yet to register a point.
So that's the show for this week. We look forward to joining you again next week. Hope you have enjoyed what we've had to offer. Thanks to Khismar Catlin and to Pedro Greaves. On the behalf of my producer and co-host, Philip Hackett, Wayne Holder, saying goodbye till next time.